Hey, with these multiple UseState lines in the task component, we can now do an even deeper investigation into how these hooks are working under the hood. Notice that on our UseState lines, we're given the ability to name our state value and our setter function to anything that we like. It's nice to have this power, but if you think about it, this has certain implications on how the React engine must work. When you call a UseState hook, the name of your state variable is not necessarily maintained internally by the React engine. Instead, the order in which you apply UseState hooks is called within the component is what gives it its value. So to dig into this, let's do something funky and put conditional logic around our UseState hooks. Every time the task function component is called, we're going to switch the order in which the UseState hooks for the tasks and completed tasks are applied. First up, at the top of the file, let's declare a local variable called I that is reassignable, and we're going to start it off at 0. Then, let's make unassigned let variables out of the tasks and completed tasks, as well as set tasks and the set completed task variables. So let's say let tasks, set tasks, completed tasks, and then set completed tasks as well. Next, we'll increment I before the update task text method every single time that we call the function component. So when it comes to calling the UseState hooks for the tasks and completed task array every time, we're going to switch the order each time the function is gone through. To do so, we're going to check if I is divisible by 2 by using the modulo operator, so %2, and if it's equal to 0, in other words, if the remainder of I divided by 2 is equal to 0, well, we can run some functionality. And let's run the functionality which assigns the tasks and completed tasks to the UseState hooks in this order. Now we already have these variables declared, so instead of redeclaring them with const lines, we can still maintain our destructuring by wrapping this entire line with a pair of parentheses in JavaScript. So we're still calling UseState, but now assigning this task variable to the first destructured value, as well as set tasks to the second destructured value. We're going to do the same thing for completed tasks below. And then we get to the else case where I is not divisible by 2. In this case, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to destructure tasks, set tasks, completed tasks, and set completed tasks to our UseState hooks. But now we'll do something weird and make completed tasks now the first destructured line, and then task the second one. Okay, go ahead and save the file. If you don't have the application running already, fire npm run start in the command line in the project directory at react hook/home, and then go back to your application in the browser, give it a refresh, and then dig into that tasks section. Go ahead and add a task, so get groceries can be a tasks. And I'll just go ahead and add foo bar, and what you should see is some pretty wonky behavior. Essentially, the completed task and task array is switching between every render. You only really need to type into the input to see this switch happening every time. So this reveals that under the hood, React is not maintaining a reference to the naming that you've used within your component for this state. It's completely agnostic to that. Instead, React returns your relevant data based on the order in which you've called your UseState hook in the component itself. To prove this, we can actually still do weird things like choose different names for the state variables and setters. We just have to make sure that the relevant state variables and setters are used correctly according to their order throughout the rest of the function component. So in the else case, let's say that let foo and set foo is equal to our first UseState call. So UseState, and it's still going to be an empty variable. Likewise, we can have a similar line for let bar and set bar equal to UseState, and we're going to pass in an empty array over here as well. And then on the following lines, we'll assign tasks, completed tasks, set task, and set completed tasks to the relevant values that we've now destructured from our UseState lines. So tasks is now going to be equal to foo, set tasks is equal to set foo, and now bar is, or rather completed tasks is equal to bar, and set completed tasks is equal to set bar. So overall, the point is that the naming you've chosen within the UseState doesn't matter. It's the order in which you apply the hooks and call it within your function component. Okay, let's check this out in the application now. And what you should find is that if you add tasks, there isn't that weird switching that's going on. It's working just as before and consistent with what you'd expect. Nothing wonky. Cool. So despite the fact that we're using different naming for the destructuring itself within the hooks, we're still getting consistent behavior. So all of this was to drive the point that you have the power to name the return values anything you like. But what you do have to retain is the consistent call order of UseState within your function component. All right, let's return back the normal setup for these hooks and declare them without the conditional logic. So up at the top, instead of doing all of this conditional logic business, we're going to go back to the original const declaration, take out that extra parentheses, take out all those I lines, as well as that original I variable. All right. Overall, we've established that React needs a consistent call order for the UseState hooks. And we've now dug into how hooks are working under the hood in this section. As one last piece before completing this section, let's add local storage to this task component. I consider it a mandatory aspect of a task list to maintain your tasks across browser sessions, so I wouldn't consider this feature complete unless we did that. So let's address storing the tasks within the next video. Hey, if you're enjoying this content, be sure to head to the full course at udemy.com/reacthooks tutorial. Since you're coming from YouTube, I'm giving you access to the course at the max discount Udemy lets me create. I've posted details in the video description, and be sure to visit my website at davidtkatz.com as well, where you can find links to connect with me. All right, see you in the next one.